Hello, everybody, from my side as well. The third case study, which I will very briefly present, which actually in the booklet is the first, is about SMEs. We have produced a survey for this study amongst Swiss SMEs together with our partner, Swiss Global Enterprise, which is an institution that supports Swiss companies, especially smaller ones, in export and also in investment. So this is kind of about small is beautiful, about small companies in a small country making a small but significant contribution. The first slide actually is the good news. The good news is that despite all the issues and worries about the EU, if you ask Swiss SMEs about their intentions in terms of investment, and this is very up to date, more than 50%, in fact almost two-thirds of Swiss SMEs plan to locate more than 50% of their international investments in the EU. So I think this is obviously very good news. It shows that Swiss SMEs in general continue to have a lot of trust in this market and want to stay in the market and actually expand in this market. Before I go into the other results of the study, let me just very briefly take a step back and talk about investment generally, in foreign direct investment generally. This is, of course, not from the survey, but from data. This chart shows you a map, a distorted map, maybe a little hard to read, but we like to confuse people a little, about how, where international investment, foreign direct investment comes into the EU, where are the sources of these funds. You can see, so we've scaled this map according to the sources of inflows into the EU. You can see, of course, that most of foreign direct investment within the EU comes from the EU itself. So that is the pale blue areas here. The next two within the EU, the next two or three large ones are the UK here, then the Netherlands, Belgium, and Luxembourg. These numbers are slightly distorted because the UK and the Netherlands actually are staging posts for international investors from other countries which act as a conduit of foreign direct investment into the EU. Of course, the largest, not surprisingly, the largest non-EU contributor of foreign direct investment in the EU is the United States. I think that is not surprising. Around 30% of the external, around 40% of the external funds come from the United States. However, the next one is actually Switzerland, which is this country here blown up to show the size. Around 0.6 trillion of foreign direct investment in 2013-14 actually stemmed from Switzerland. So we are, in fact, the second largest contributor to foreign direct investment in the EU of all countries. This is, of course, including the large companies, not just the small. Let me get back to the small companies. Just to give you a sense of the importance, I think this actually shows again the similarity of Switzerland and the EU in terms of economic structure. What we have here are the contributions of SMEs to employment on the one hand, and also the number of enterprises. So in both the EU and also Switzerland, almost all companies in terms of numbers actually are SMEs. There are, of course, large companies, but there are few. And in terms of employment, actually in both regions, you can see here that 67% and 70% respectively in terms of employment is generated by SMEs. So they are indeed extremely important in terms of economic activity. The second point about SMEs is that they are actually very international. I'm just trying to get this to move. Here we go. We compare the international activities of SMEs in Switzerland and also in the European Union. Without going into detail, I think you can see that they're both involved very strongly in exports. They're very much involved in imports. And if we look at Swiss SMEs in particular, they're actually even more international. You can see that amongst the SMEs which we surveyed, 69% of these SMEs actually produce, have production locations abroad, which is quite extraordinary considering that these are actually pretty small companies. They don't only produce, but as we show in the study, they also do research and development, they do marketing, development, etc. Finally, of course, there's not only good news, there is also not so good news. We have asked the SMEs in Switzerland what they like and what they don't like about the EU. And here on this chart, you can see the comparison of our survey with the one which Ernst & Young did, which is not only amongst SMEs, but amongst foreign companies in general. Now you can see that the things that we sort of day-to-day think about in terms of issues in the EU, namely things such as mainly political issues or even growth issues, are actually not the top concern of SMEs. Even public debt, the debt issue, is not really the top concern. The top concern of SMEs, at least, especially of Swiss SMEs, and of course Swiss like to complain quite a bit, as you know. The top concern is about bureaucracy and too much regulation. So you can see here, if we ask SMEs, 40% of them, even the ones that are, of course, investing here, actually say that the burden or the negatives that they confront in the EU are these regulatory and bureaucratic red tape issues. Now, I must say that if we ask them this question about Switzerland, they will actually tell you the same thing. They are also concerned about that within Switzerland. So what are the recommendations, very briefly, that we deduce from this? Very simply, I think the study would conclude that one should reduce red tape on the one hand. Secondly, although SMEs actually do not use capital market instruments very frequently, of course, promoting that in addition to supporting the banking union would be very important. And finally, to sort of conclude, thinking small first to foster activity in the EU and especially investment would, of course, be a key recommendation out of this study. Thank you very much.